celestial warriors of light and fallen beings converged as the summons echoed through the ethereal tapestry. The call, initiated by none other than 𝐷𝐸𝐿, set the appointed hour at 11 p.m. according to Earth's reckoning. The objective was clear: engage in negotiations with the goal of averting an inevitable and protracted battles. 𝐷𝐸𝐿 ventured into the negotiations, accompanied solely by 𝐍𝐨𝐯, a calculated gamble in the face of Vilcroy's insidious guile and his cadre of malevolent loyalists. 𝐷𝐸𝐿 enveloped himself in the divine aura, the splendor of the Creator, as his sheathed sword gleamed with the lingering might of the Most High. Just as ancient warriors sought divine favor before embarking on arduous quests, so did 𝐷𝐸𝐿 seek the cosmic blessing of Yahweh before this perilous encounter. His hopes for the meeting's outcome had a dual nature. The first, a bit of a long shot, aimed to daunt Vilcroy. 𝐷𝐸𝐿 hoped that his audacious stroll into the heart of the dragon's lair could sow some intimidation into the fabric of the Dark Lord's mind, gaining them a spark of advantage. If he could negotiate the release of the girl, it would ensure the impending deadly battle would be averted. The meeting took place in a mansion at the pinnacle of Hollywood Hills. The mansion was constructed in the early 1900s by a world-renowned magician and dedicated to Vilcroy under the guise of the god of illusion. Vilcroy first visited the shy and sickly boy when the boy was the impressionable age of 12. The poor and geeky young boy was the target of constant ridicule from cruel and thoughtless schoolmates. The scarred young man desired power to punish his enemies and began dabbling in illusion and the black arts. With the tutoring of demonic visitation, the magician became a master at only 22 years of age. Since his death, the mansion has been a mecca for famous musicians, actors, and the rich who desire confirmation of their link to whatever level of magic and witchcraft they were into. All had to follow the same ritual of worshipping Vilcroy, the reigning principality of Hollywood. Blood sacrifices, seances, secret Wiccan conventions, to high-powered covens, all were done for the sole purpose of empowering the stronghold the demonic forces held over the most famous city in the world. The two heavenly servants of God made the translation from the realm of heaven into the realm of mankind 10 miles directly above the agreed location. 𝐷𝐸𝐿 always erred on the side of caution and the distance allotted for the ability to catch sight of possible ambushes. 𝐷𝐸𝐿 turned to address his accompanying soldier. His eyes shone with the intensity of 1,000 battles, his long auburn hair appeared more like the glorious fires of heaven than Maine. Two things to remember, young warrior: our opponents sit in a place of power, so we are to avoid confrontation at all cost. At 𝐷𝐸𝐿's instructions, the fiery massive angel's eyes twitched slightly. He dare not question the wisdom of the veteran warrior of legends. Secondly, though he be fallen, he was formed in the midst of the coals of heaven, thus he is to be respected. In due time the Creator of all that is shall complete his judgment. 𝐷𝐸𝐿 surveyed 𝐍𝐶𝐵's face for any sign of trepidation. He found none. With speed that defies the human eye, they quickly descended toward the mansion. At 100 feet above the sprawling estate, they were met by two enormous, deformed demonic guards. Though the two minions were impressive in size, they were no match for either warrior. Both minions donned mocking grins at the sight of the two warriors as they approached. The first spoke up with a voice that sounded like a someone gurgling liquid while speaking through a plastic cup. "This is it? The mighty 𝐷𝐸𝐿 brings him one novel little warrior? How long has he been in battle? A full 2 eons." The demon laughed with a hearty snort, his partner joining in the jester. "Evening urchins, I see after uncountable eons you are still assigned to the duty of doormen," replied 𝐷𝐸𝐿 audaciously. The pair's countenance sobered. Not finding 𝐷𝐸𝐿's snub amusing, the two quickly shifted to business. "We were sent to gather your weapons. Since you are here under the pretense of peace, it should not be an issue, O mighty one. And you know to lose our sword is to lose our honor. They are as much a part of us as any part of our being." The monstrous demon let out a grunt and a green vapor escaped through his nostrils. The low-ranking fallen host contemplated 𝐷𝐸𝐿's response for a moment, then turned and floated toward their destination, giving one simple instruction: "Follow, slowly." The second demon trailed them from a distance. He floated to and fro as if he were expecting more angels to suddenly appear. From a distance, the exterior of the mansion seemed to be covered with a black oozing substance that slowly ascended and descended. As 𝐍𝐨𝐯 and 𝐅𝐨𝐿 approached, they discovered it was not a substance but rather millions of grotesque disfigured diminutive demons. The demons varied in sizes and shapes, but none larger than a spider monkey. As they approached the entry of the dark abode, the demons sent to greet them turned and uttered another simple instruction. "Wait here." Before the irritated demon whisked away, 𝐅𝐨𝐿 addressed him again. "If you would, let your master know that the conversation cannot proceed if we are required to give up our swords." Without a response, the demon turned and left. Seconds later, the flowing black wall of imps parted in a perfect oval. Both hosts knew they placed their fate in the wisdom of 𝐅𝐨𝐿. His wisdom was tempered by the fire of 1,000 battles before the framework of this world. The same towering minion met them at the other side of the portal, his animus obvious by the snarl plastered on his face. "Come, Master Vilcroy awaits." The demon quickly descended with 𝐅𝐨𝐿 and 𝐍𝐨𝐯 following. 3 floors below the surface, Vilcroy sat upon an enormous throne decorated by human and reptile skeleton. His enormous reptilian hands and long fingers snaked around the base of the arm of the chair. His pointing finger tapped a foreign rhythm. On each side of the dark throne stood 2 guardian spirits whose faces were hidden by masks that allowed only the show of a pair of red glowing eyes. The 2 fallen hosts stood at least 15 feet, dwarfing the twin welcoming party. They stood motionless, hands wrapped tightly around their swords. 𝐍𝐨𝐯 felt the instinctive urge to grip his sword as well, but resisted the emotion, remembering his mentor's words. All who were defenders of heaven and earth were linked emotionally to their swords. Whenever his emotion burned, so did his sword. He knew the glow of his sword would be taken as a sign of hostility. He took control of his emotions. The conversation began, absence of any unnecessary and forged greetings. Vilcroy spoke first, his stare piercing and steady.
"So, tell me, 𝐅𝐴𝐿, what is it you wish to accomplish? Let me begin by warning you, I am not in a very negotiating mood. I met with you under one pretense, warrior of legend, and that is the minute chance I might gain knowledge or perhaps a bit of precious information."
"The granting of my request does not go without gratitude. I realize both of our time is precious, so with your permission I will proceed with my purpose for risking the safety of my fellow soldier as well as myself." Vilcroy slightly bowed his head in agreement. "My purpose is to possibly avert the imminent and soon coming mighty war over this great city. As you are aware, at this very moment many followers of the King of Heaven are strategically preparing to cover it in a mighty blanket of prayer." Vilcroy stood on the edge of his seat, his voice rising.
"The unlawful King of Heaven."
𝐅𝐴𝐿 was unmoved by Vilcroy's outburst. "Your allegiance as well as mine is without dispute. The war is my concern. I am here to deliver a message. The girl is to be released from your hold." Vilcroy quickly stood up, his lips in a snarl, and extended a scaly finger. Every demon in his immediate vicinity stood with him, poised to react at the signal of their leader. "Strong you may be, Ancient One, but your demands reek of dishonor." 𝐅𝐴𝐿 was unfazed by the Dark Prince's reaction. "Dishonor is not my intent. I wish only to avert unnecessary engagement for either side. I am aware that even your mighty stronghold is at risk should events not turn out as you wish." Vilcroy paused momentarily, apparently considering the weight of 𝐅𝐴𝐿's statement. Taking his seat again, Vilcroy broke into a cool grin.
"And what am I being offered for this exchange? Hmm?
"You will be spared the total invasion of Dander's legion."
You bluff. Dandor's full region dispatched for a wayward king?"
Vilcroy answered incredulously. 𝐅𝐴𝐿 answered with more assertion than before. "The teen's destiny is predetermined, and the Father of Glory will not suffer her to be harmed." Leaning back in his throne, Vilcroy crossed his legs and hands together, his razor-sharp claws glimmered in the darkness.
"It is too late. The girl has been defiled and has changed allegiance.
At Vilcroy's words, Adeola felt his chest tighten. He pushed back the rising indignation as he focused on the goal. Vilcroy continued, his voice laced with irritation.
I see no reason to continue this uneventful conversation any further. You have brought me nothing but demands and embellishments. I sit in power. You have only hopes to debut. I control this region and its pitiful inhabitants. I even reign freely in most of your wretched churches.
The atmosphere grew tense as Vilcroy's voice took on a dissonant and sinister tone. 𝐍𝐸 kept his eyes fixed on his leader, ready to act at any signal. Despite being prepared for a fight, he was keenly aware of how outnumbered they were. Adeola did not attempt to conceal his disappointment at the failure of the peace talks. When he spoke, his tone was deep and resolute. Then it is settled, my lost brother. The will of the Father shall be done. Vilcroy laughed, his voice echoing through the dark chamber.
If his will is the decimation and destruction of his precious earthbound creations, then yes, it is being done.
Adeola and 𝐍𝐸 turned and exited without a reply, both silently vowing to witness the defeat of their boastful enemy, even at the cost of their own suffering. As the two angelic warriors soared through the sky, Adeola spoke to 𝐍𝐸, his voice laced with determination. It is time to intervene.